Welcome back to the Unapologetic Podcast, our second to last episode of 2025. My name is Brandt Merritt.
I'm Jonathon Woodyard.
And we are getting ready for commencement tomorrow. We're recording this on a Thursday as usual, so that'll be a busy day, and then one more week of offices open. But yeah, Jonathon, the students are about to head out and the semester is almost over.
Yeah, so many of them are already heading out. I mean, they get out of here when they can, and good for them. They've been here, they've worked hard.
Absolutely.
And so finals come and go, and so they're out of here as soon as that last final drops. Well, most of them, some of them stick around. I just saw, I don't know what the game is called. It's not, I said, oh, it's like Risk. And they said, no, it's not like Risk. But they're setting up a big game board down in one of the rooms, and a bunch of them, they said it's taking 45 minutes to set up. So some of them stick around and hang out with each other a little bit longer. But for the most part, students hit the road, go see family, friends, and get ready for Christmas.
I didn't know about bear caching until yesterday.
Yeah, bear caching is a thing every year. So they take these it's like a little plastic ball you'd get out of a, what do you call that?
Ball pit, like at McDonald's.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then they number them, and then they hide them in different places, and then they give out clues, and then you find the ball, and it's worth money. And so I usually have one in my office or one on my person. And so that's something that they do at the end of every semester. It's pretty cool. So a lot of things like that. Close of the semester, little events going on. Nothing really big because people are studying for finals. Yep. But we did the late night breakfast. People come and eat 8 to 9 o'clock, or not 8 to 9. No, 9 to 10. 9 to 10. And in the cabinet where they're serving, so you do that. You have the bear caching.
Pet therapy in the library, which is always a hit.
Pet a dog, I guess, or I guess whatever they were down there petting.
And there were dogs, 2 dogs.
Yeah. So just trying to wrap up. I mean, we've got people checking out this weekend, and so the dorms will be emptying out. Some people stay. I mean, you don't get a completely empty campus right out of the gate because you have athletes that are here.
Yep. So
next week, I know our basketball teams, I think maybe swimming. I can't remember exactly who. We had to work yesterday on some food options and working out the food schedule for some of our athletes that'll still be here. So not a completely quiet campus, but yeah, starting yesterday, you could really tell, kids are going home, and it's pretty quiet. It'll be pretty quiet today. Tomorrow will not be quiet.
No,
tomorrow's commencement.
Commencement's a big moment. Obviously, winter commencement's a little smaller than spring commencement in April, May. But yeah, we'll have well over 100 students completing their programs and getting all
their families,
their degrees, and we do combine. If you come to the spring commencement, we usually split it into multiple ceremonies because there are so many students. For winter, we can make it just one, which is nice. All the students get to be together.
Yeah. And we'll be there in our regalia.
Yeah, which neither one of us have a role this time, I don't think.
No.
Because you spoke at one.
I spoke at
last year.
Last year's
winter.
Yeah, last winter I spoke at the last winter's commencement.
And then last spring I had to do the call to order, the welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I looked at the instructions from Tammy this morning to figure out what time I needed to be there, and all I have to do is walk in and sit down.
Yeah.
So
we can handle that.
Yeah.
Well, we were going to talk a little bit today on a post you did within the last week on just different models of higher education, Christian higher education in particular. But one thing we wanted to touch on ahead of that is just identifying, promoting one of the things that's going to be part of the Center for Worldview in 2026 that you've been leading, and we've been helping to kind of revamp what it's going to look like. And one of them is a trip that we're going to do. And I think it's something that we'd love to have as like an ongoing integration within the Center for Worldview, are these trips that are exploring topics in Christian worldview in general. But yeah, what's the plan for 2026? Where are we going? What are we going to do?
Yeah. So, first of all, I think somehow we need to figure out a title for you because you do a lot with the center as well. So I took it over this year. The assistant to the director of the Center for Worldview and Culture, something like that. But I mean, this podcast is now housed under the Center for Worldview and Culture, which is why we talk about worldview stuff. Like we're going to talk about models of Christian higher education, that sort of thing. But as we think about that center, our mission, our aim to prepare students to practice their faith with courage and confidence in a confused world. So how do we do that? How do we get students ready, help them be ready to practice their faith in a world that's gone crazy in a lot of different ways and has gone crazy since Genesis 3? And so podcast is one way. We have After Darks. We bring people in to talk to them. Another way is trips. Like we do these kind of experiences. One of the trips we're doing is CrossCon. So we're taking another student signed up today, actually, about 30 students to Louisville, Kentucky, where they will meet other college students, worship with other college students, hear the preaching of the word from really, robust speakers talking about some worldview issues, and then we'll have times to debrief. So that's a trip that's going to happen stateside. But then in the summer, we're going to do another kind of worldview experience trip, not a mission trip in terms of go and plant a church or do evangelism or work in an orphanage, but more of a let's expand your mind and heart for the world, understand the world a little bit better, understand your history, understand your faith a little bit better. And we're going to do that in England. And so the plan is to go to London, spend a few days in London. I'll go, you're going, other staff, Jacob Banks will be there. So we'll be there on the ground in London. We'll spend a few days there, and we'll think through like political, cultural, religious history, Churchill war rooms, everything from Churchill war rooms to Westminster Abbey to maybe the London Tabernacle where Spurgeon preached. So you got all that stuff mixed in. And then also take a day trip to Oxford one day and think about the impact that Oxford itself has had on the world, but also our faith. I mean, think about Lewis and Tolkien are huge, but then you've got so many others that came through Oxford. Oxford was so influential in the Christian world and the intellectual world.
A lot of our historical universities, Harvard, Princeton, were founded on Christian worldview teaching. It's similar with those two.
And then take another day trip and go to Cambridge. It's interesting. I don't know if this is still true, but several years ago, I was doing a little research, like who produces more scholarly like journals in Oxford or Cambridge, and it's actually Cambridge. But we'll do a day trip in Oxford, day trip in Cambridge. And the idea is to enlarge the mind of the students, help them understand a little bit of Christian history, a little bit of just history of the world, political history, how where we are here in the West, in America, has been influenced, like where we came from. So think a little bit about the English Reformation, the Church of England, where that came from. You get English separatism. You get Christianity exported from England to the Americas. So all that sort of thing we're going to do in England over a little over a week or so that we'll be there. So looking forward to that trip. We've got, I think we'll have 25 or so people on the trip. We're going to open this to incoming students, prospective students or students that have applied or admitted and are planning to come. They can take this for credit. They can go with us on the trip, enjoy the trip, but also do a little bit of coursework and earn some credit that counts towards their Discover curriculum. So I don't know that. I think that information is going to go out this week to incoming students, and then they can jump on and sign up for that trip. So that's the idea. Is all of that aiming at that formation of a Christian worldview, different ways we do that, and taking people to these different places, Louisville, Kentucky, or London, England. These are all aiming at formation, which is really, I mean, that's what we're trying to do here at the university. We're not merely, we've talked about this before, we don't just want to confer degrees. Of course, we want to do that, but we want to shape the hearts and minds of the men and women who come through here and prepare them to be witnesses for Christ in this crazy world.
Yeah, I'm excited to go on. It'll be pretty cool. I've not been to England yet, and I have a passion for the political implications of a lot of things too. So looking forward to seeing some of those landmarks and talking a little bit about how the political components have combined with the religious pieces there too. So it'll be exciting.
Yeah, I think so. Sure. I think it'll be exciting, and hopefully we take 25 or 30 over and we bring 25 or 30 back. So,
That's goal number one.
yeah.
And hopefully it's an annual thing where we can find similar opportunities going forward. One of the things I get asked a lot on the enrollment side is, what study abroad things do we have in place? And we don't have really a robust study abroad infrastructure. We have partners that we can help students find opportunities with, and we do mission trips, but adding things like this into what we offer for students, you don't have to have 100 different opportunities. If we can keep bringing, one or two of these every year, it provides just that, a really solid chance for those students to experience something different that want to go do it.
Yeah, one of the things, like, not this coming summer is England. The following summer, maybe it's not overseas. Maybe it is a New England study tour. And then you just, hey, we did the England thing, and now we're kind of taking a boat, so to speak, and now we're landing on the shores. And what would
Jonathan Edwards and
even before Edwards, but you get back into the 1600s and that first kind of movement over here. And then, think through, okay, what did Christianity look like as it grew? And, Maryland was a Catholic haven. You had congregational states. And what did Christianity look like in the earliest days? And, of course, you get to Edwards in the 1700s. But you get the first Great Awakenings and the second Great Awakenings and all the things that are happening during that time. So maybe that's an idea for summer number 2.
I'm sure we'll whiteboard it at some point for ideas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and this ties into what we were going to talk mostly on today. You did a post on theology along the way, not really responding to, but just sort of distilling what the president of George Fox had done recently, outlining different models of Christian higher education, and not necessarily in his post promoting one or the other, but really just kind of outlining the differences. And then you unpack that a little bit too, which ties into even the purpose of a trip like this. And what we're trying to do through the Center for Worldview is integrating faith with the student experience. There's different ways to do it. There's different kinds of things you can try. So I guess maybe start with what the kind of the 4 models that came out of the George Fox post, and then we can kind of go from there.
Well, what I tried to do in that post was be descriptive, right? I wasn't being prescriptive in terms of telling people this is the way to do it or this is the best way to do it. I have opinions, but I wasn't ready necessarily to dive in and make arguments one way or the other. I mean, I ended the post with some takeaways that maybe made some soft kind of, this is where I'm at now, what I think now, but mainly trying to describe the landscape a little bit. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons that I wanted to do this is I've served at 2 different types of Christian institutions. And when I came here, Southwest Baptist University is different than Bethlehem College and Seminary in Minneapolis, where I was at for 12 years or so. And as I've been here, I've heard, several people have been on campus and they've learned some things about, maybe there's a student here or students here that that aren't Christians, don't profess to be Christians. Maybe they're even a different religious persuasion. And I've heard the comment, I thought this was a Christian school. And that phrase made me think through, okay, it is, but it's not like the Christian school I came from, and it's maybe not like other Christian schools. And so it just kind of set me on a little bit of a journey to, in my own mind, kind of take stock of the Christian school landscape. And as I did some reading and thinking and looking around, just come to realize what is probably, it's not like a major discovery. It's like, oh, yes, this makes sense. There's different types of Christian schools. Not all Christian schools are the same. So the first place I started in that post was with the open versus closed enrollment question. And I think that's a category that people need to have in mind is when you think about and I'm just going to use the 2 places I was at. And again, I'm not making any comment on which is best right now. I'm just describing. So when you talk about open versus closed enrollment, you go to Bethlehem College and Seminary in Minneapolis, where I was at. It's where I went to school. I did my MDiv there. I taught there. I was on the cabinet there for a while. So I was there for a long time. And it's a closed enrollment school, which means that you have to be a Christian to go to school there. And in fact, to go there at Bethlehem, you have to submit a written testimony. You have to go through a couple of rounds of interviews. I mean, it's a very what's the word for that? Robust entry process, very selective. And so that's a closed enrollment school. Other closed enrollment schools might be
Southeastern, where I was at before.
I
in
didn't
Florida.
know that.
Yeah, Lakeland. It was also closed enrollment on that end. We didn't have an interview process necessarily, but we did require them to submit a statement of faith.
Okay.
And then that, I mean, every student who came in had to have that.
Yeah. So you have Southeastern Cedarville University in Ohio. So you've got those types of, so if you think about Christian schools, a place to start would be, okay, is the Christian school, when it approaches the enrollment question, is it open versus closed? Closed being you have to have a profession of Christian faith to be there. And then versus the open enrollment place, which is now like Southwest Baptist University, where we're at now. Another school like us would be Carson Newman, outside of Knoxville, Tennessee. And I'm sure there are others, but those are two that come to ours. Obviously, we're sitting here, and then I know of Carson Newman. And so that means it's Christian in the sense that the faculty, staff are believers. Probably a confession of faith, like our confession of faith is the Baptist Faith and Message, and we affirm that. In fact, on the top of job descriptions, it says, do you joyfully affirm the Baptist Faith and Message? And so there's that affirmation at the staff and faculty level that we are followers of Jesus. We look at all things from a Christian point of view, a Christian worldview, and we are unapologetic about who we are, and we want every student to hear the gospel. We would love every student to believe in Jesus and to grow up in to his image and likeness, and then go and make a Christ-exalting difference in the world. So we're Christian in that sense, but when it comes to the enrollment question, we approach that enrollment question differently than a Bethlehem or Cedarville or Southeastern. Yeah. We say we are Christian in the sense of staff, faculty, confession of faith. This is the worldview we believe and perpetuate, but you don't have to believe it to be a student here. You don't have to be a Christian. We don't require a profession of faith. That doesn't mean when you come here, there is a code of conduct.
There's still expectations.
There's principles and expectations. So you may not believe in Jesus, but you're certainly going to live and move and have your being on a campus that's asking you to live according to Judeo-Christian values. Yeah. So that's where I started, and that open versus closed enrollment is maybe new for some people who haven't thought through. Oh, I thought all Christian schools, because it's a Christian school, there's certain people who go there, and everybody's at least a professing Christian. I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody would know that, yes, there are people who profess to be Christians who aren't quite serious about their faith, but at least surely you have to profess to be a Christian to be at a Christian place, and that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, my comment on the thinking through having been at Southeastern, which was much bigger school, not as robust of a selection process as what you guys had at Bethlehem. So we brought in a wider range of people from different backgrounds. So all that to say, a school of students who bring a profession of faith does not necessarily have fewer discipline issues than a school that has open enrollment. Like Christians are still sinners, as are unbelievers. And so that's always built into it as well. And then, kind of going from closed versus enrollment, which I think is a really important thing for people to think through. Then your post went through the models from George Fox of different ways that it kind of gets.
I can't remember when I sent it to you. I mean, he did this. I don't remember actually when he posted this, and I'll be honest, I didn't even know who he was. I just saw.
It was last Friday.
Last Friday
is when you sent it to. Well, that's when you sent me your post.
Yeah,
so I don't know when he did his post.
Probably a week or so before that, I had seen somebody had shared with me that this person, Dr. Baker, and then I looked into who he was, and George Fox University, didn't know much about it, but I appreciated that he took the time to kind of do the same thing, describe like, hey, there are different ways that people are approaching the Christian faith at their schools. And so he kind of gave 4 models. At the end of the day, the first 2 models were not as helpful to me. I mean, he talks about, I've got them here. Yeah. One is a moral commitment. This type of institution focuses on character building, but there's no real emphasis on spiritual formation.
It's table stakes. I mean, you would think any college or institution is going to have some kind of moral commitment that they're trying to instill in their students.
So they have some type of ethical commitment, some type of values they're trying to promote. But again, when I read about the model and his description, I thought, well, if it's not explicitly, I guess for it to be Christian, it would have to be explicitly Christian values that they're trying to promote. So, so that was model one. But then he had this second one, dualistic. Model two was dualistic. Some schools operate by placing Christianity alongside the academic experience, but the university itself is separate from Christianity. And so this is something, and that reminded me of some things I'd read by Arthur Holmes, who wrote The Idea of a Christian College back in the 1980s. This is the idea that you've got the school and the intellectual components, the academic components, and Christianity is just this. You can add Christianity on. It's like you can add a lot of different things on, and if you want to add your Christianity on, you could maybe be part of the Baptist Student Union or be part of FCA, but it's not integrated into the life of the institution. So that was model two, and then model three, closed integrative communities. This is models 3 and 4 are both integrative communities. One is closed, one is open. This gets to what we've been talking about. Both of the ones in model 3 and model 4. So model 3, closed integrative community, is a school that approaches the enrollment question from a closed point of view. Like, this is closed to Christians. So you have to be a Christian to go here, and we're going to integrate faith and learning. Model 4, which is what he argues for and which is what represents George Fox and us, is an open integrative community where you don't have to be a Christian to go here, but we are explicit about integrating faith and learning. We're going to do that whether or not you believe or not. If you go to Julie Bryant's classroom and you're taking her for education or one of the education courses, she's going to talk about being a teacher, and she's going to approach that from a Christian worldview. She's going to integrate faith and learning. Yeah. We're just doing that at a school that's open to non-believers. Mm-hmm. So he goes through those, and I make some comments on them. Model 1, I mean, he talks about Pacific Lutheran and different things. I wasn't really impressed with that sort of bent or that model. The dualistic approach, where the institution's keeping Christianity separate, so it's not encouraged in the classroom. And then he lists like Oregon State University, but Oregon State wouldn't claim to be Christian in any sense, right?
When I think about dualistic, and he might have been, I can't remember his original post, he might have been even framing of just how is Christianity handled within higher education. Yeah. Because I went to Mizzou and went to the Baptist Student Union, and that's where my faith, really grew and got formed more deeply. But Mizzou was not intentionally thinking, how are we going to have Christianity taking place on our campus? Like, no, there are clubs and organizations and ministries that can be, and there's just a process, and Christian groups get lumped into that. So from the dualistic standpoint, I think in many cases, it's not an intentional strategic effort from university leadership to have these Christian groups.
So it's more of how that institution is approaching
the student experience,
religion. Maybe. Yeah, like it's approaching religion. Like, you can add that onto your experience, but it's not part of who we are. Yeah, that makes sense. So there are schools out there, and you can figure out where you're going to go to school and then think about how that school approaches the religion question. But that's not Christian education, or like what we're talking about. And so I wouldn't put it on. Yeah,
and the university in those cases are not intentionally structuring anything to guide students.
Right.
They're just saying, hey, here's just stuff that's happening you can go find on your own.
Yeah, so in thinking about Christian education, that's just not a category that I think we need to consider. Like, if you're thinking about what are the different types of Christian institutions, OSU, what is OSU? Oregon State, not Ohio State.
I would wonder.
Not even something to consider.
Yeah, I'd have to look in. I mean, we kind of joke or make comments about it sometimes. Like, there are a lot of schools that have a C in their acronym that used to stand for Christian that maybe doesn't anymore. So I'm throwing a name out that I don't know details of how it operates, but Texas Christian University, TCU still has Christian in the name. But if you go there, or SMU, Southern Methodist University, if you go to one of these schools, I would imagine now that the Christian integration in the classroom is probably not as overt, or maybe not even at all overt, but they
Right.
still are.
There's a history
They're
there.
still wanting to have this approach where, hey, no, Christian faith can be explored, but they maybe have separated and made it more dualistic.
Yeah, I don't know how TCU or SMU addresses the
we would just
question.
be
I
taking
think
guesses.
there you think of there's a historical connection. They were once a Christian school, but have they completely separated now? I don't know the answer to that question. I have inclinations of what, but I don't want to.
So my wife went to Florida Southern College, which was founded as a Methodist school, and it still has very loose affiliations with it. So the integration within all of campus life is not there, but they would have a chapel service that was, given space and promoted, and they would have convocation, but it was more of like a kind of leadership outside speaker type of thing. So in that sense, it kind of has been intentionally made dualistic.
Sure.
Of the classroom integration is not really happening, but we're still.
But you're welcome to go to the Baptist student union.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily required. Convocation was required, but chapel wasn't required.
Yeah, so I mean that brings up another interesting point that's not really in here. But when you think through what are the different types of Christian schools, well, some Christian schools still have Christian in the name, but there's nothing Christian about them anymore. So that's something you need to be aware of. Not every place that has Christian in the name is Christian. And then from those schools that still would call themselves Christian, there are different ways they approach the enrollment question. There are different ways they approach the integration of Christianity on the campus, and places like here. We're doing that particularly from an open enrollment standpoint, where we're integrating faith into every aspect of the university, but you don't have to be a Christian to be here. And so you just have to think through, as I'm thinking about Christian education, what type of school is that? And that's what I'm trying to do here, is provide some sort of a map to say there's just different models out there, some more helpful than others. And so when Dr. Baker started to outline Model 3, the open or the closed integrative community, and Model 4, the open integrative community, those are helpful. And I would put Model 3 would be a Bethlehem College and Seminary or a Cedarville or a Southeastern, and Model 4 would be a place like Carson Newman or us or George Fox University.
Yeah. I think HLG also.
Hannibal LaGrange out
here in Missouri. And there's a number
Missouri
of them.
Baptist University.
I should know that.
We should know that.
I assume it's open.
I'm assuming it's open as well.
I don't want to.
But you can check that out online. Yeah.
Right. And then you kind of built from there and talked about some other writing that had been done, the idea of a Christian college and different approaches with that.
Book. Arthur Holmes was a professor at Wheaton College back in the 20th century.
So long ago.
And had written this book called The Idea of a Christian College, really fascinating book. And in there, so he drills down into the integration question. So really what he's doing is, if you take everything we've been talking about, you've got the open versus closed enrollment. You've got these different models, and he's looking mainly, I think, at what would be in Baker's terms, a Model 3 and Model 4, right? The open integrative community and the closed integrative community. So you're integrating faith and learning. And what Holmes does is drill down and say, okay, now if you're sitting at a table with everybody that agrees we need to integrate faith and learning, well, there's different ways to integrate faith and learning. So now this drills down to another level. So you've looked at, okay, I want to go to an open enrollment school. Check. Christian school, unapologetically Christian. They're serious about their faith. There's a confession of faith. They are open enrollment, so you don't necessarily have to be a believer to be there. But they're going to integrate the faith, Christianity, into the classroom, into every aspect of the school. Then you need to ask, well, how do they do that? And there's different ways to do it. So he outlines four approaches: the attitudinal approach, the ethical approach, the foundational approach, and the worldview approach. And so real quickly on each of those, the attitudinal approach, it says what that school is doing is saying, listen, we believe that all truth is God's truth, and the process of learning and discovery and academia, the scholarly pursuit in itself glorifies this God who has given us a mind and has called us to pursue truth. And so all truth is God's truth, and so we're excited about discovering God's truth. And so that's how we're integrating faith and learning. It's merely I say merely, it's maybe more robust than this, but merely exciting us, motivating us to pursue learning. He says, all truth is God's truth. Indeed, the scholar's love for truth becomes an expression of love for God. So that's the attitude that's underneath our pursuit of our education. Then there's the ethical approach. And so what the school's doing is trying to move you past the facts, the things you're learning, to what I call oughtness. How ought we live in light of the facts that we're learning? So the ethical approach to integration must explore the intrinsic relationship between facts and the values of justice and love, a relationship that goes beyond the question of consequences. This approach challenges learners to move beyond the facts to the moral question of oughtness. And that oughtness at a Christian place is defined in terms of a Christian worldview. So that's the ethical approach. That Christianity is moving us beyond the facts we're learning to how we ought to live in light of those facts. Then there's the foundational approach. This is your offering course curriculum, course offerings in philosophy, history, theology, that's laying a foundation. Like everything you're going to learn is built on this Christian worldview, is built on these theological realities. So there's this foundational approach, which is I think is really good. And then the worldview approach for Holmes, this represents the most embracing contact between Christianity and human learning. That's his words.
That sounds good.
Yeah, the most embracing, right? Yeah. Here we find, and these are my words. Here we find institutions looking at all things: sports, curricular decisions, student life events, job descriptions, rules, and policies, through a biblical worldview. The view of everything this is his word, perspective, right? We see all things from a Christian point of view. So I think that's the one that we embrace here. Like when we think about what we're doing in this podcast, when we think about what we're doing by taking people to England, what are we doing in athletics? What are we doing in chapel? What are we doing in everything is approached from a distinctly Christian worldview, and how we shape men and women according to that worldview to help them think Christianly about all things. Our last podcast, we tried to apply that to vocation and jobs. How do you think about your job Christianly? That sort of thing. So again, just different ways. You can read Holmes for yourself as he goes into much more detail about these different approaches. But what he's trying to do is tell us that even when you go to a Christian school that says they want to integrate faith and learning, you still have to ask, what does that mean? Yeah. How do you integrate faith and learning at this place? And the way you do it here may not be the same as another Christian school does it elsewhere. Again, not making a comment about or a determination on which one's better yet, just being descriptive to say different schools integrate faith and learning in different ways.
And I was even thinking through other questions families can ask through this too. Even when you get to that point, there's different, you don't want to completely split denominationally, but there are different theological bases. Confessional statements are different. So if you're really pursuing a Christian education as a family, those are questions you want to kind of get into. Is what is the confessional statement that faculty and staff are adhering to? What are some of the positions that are taught or stood for? What's the background of the leadership, and where are you guys coming from? I think those are all important, because not only does it shapes the kind of integration that we're going to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even when we say things like we're serious about the gospel, we want every student to be engaged with the gospel. Well, we define the gospel a particular way, and we outline it in our confession of faith. And so we're going to talk about the good news of Jesus different than maybe a Catholic school would, right? Yeah. Because we believe different things about the doctrine of justification. So we're going to talk about being justified by grace alone, through faith alone, in Christ alone, to the glory of God alone. We're going to talk about kind of those reformational doctrines, and we're going to talk about things from a Baptistic view in terms of the nature of the church and pastoral ministry, or baptism, or so the ordinances. All kinds of things are going to be colored by who we are, and so that's going to be. So not every Christian school is of the same stripe when you get kind of down to those second tier issues. We're all Christians in a sense of we adhere to those first tier doctrines, those essentials, but then we have our distinctives at that second tier, and those are outlined in the school's confession of faith, or should be to some degree. Now, some Christian schools they're not denominationally tied. They don't get into those granular statements. They instead remain we're going to affirm the Nicene Creed, and that's as far as we're going to go. Yep. And, but again, that's a certain type of place that's going to have a lot of different views on secondary matters in the classroom. Yep. So again, Christian education is diverse, and there are a lot of good Christian schools out there, some that are different than us, some that are like us. And all I wanted to do in my own head first, just kind of personally, was get my head around a little bit of the discussion. I'm not an expert in what Holmes is talking about, or even what Baker. These guys are beyond me a bit, but helping me learn and think about the landscape of Christian higher education a little bit better. That was my goal in posting it, and maybe serve somebody as they're trying to think about Christian education.
Well, and it's helpful for us to think through it, because we get those questions from families all the time of, okay, why are you guys different than the 5 other Christian schools that we're looking at? And we need to have a good answer that's not just, well, we are different. I think one of the comments we heard this week was a student who came on a visit event and heard how we framed an unapologetic Christ-centered worldview, and that resonated different than what they'd heard at other Christian schools. And
I think her comment was like she heard you talk about it on a panel
at a visit event.
And she said nowhere she had been was that explicit about their commitment to a Christ-centered education.
So that's, if we don't think through these things, we don't, and it's not, and not in our goal of it isn't to diminish what other ministries or Christian schools are doing, but we need to have it's just like your testimony, like you have a good answer when people ask where's your hope come from. We need to have a good answer for where our mission comes from. And so it's a good exercise.
So as you're thinking through Christian higher education, know that Christian schools are different, and you need to be thoughtful. You don't want to merely look at the sticker price, say what's the cheapest option or the most affordable option. You want to think through, what does that school believe? You want to look at their confession of faith. You want to ask hard questions. If you go to a school and the school can't tell you how they approach the enrollment question, or they're unsure, that's a red flag. If a school can't talk coherently about how they integrate faith and learning in the classroom, that's a red flag. So you just want to know that their schools do this in different ways, and you should be asking good questions. And hopefully this has been somewhat helpful.
Well, you can find, we will share, I told you I would share that post on our Facebook page, and I hadn't yet. So we'll get that posted on Facebook. You can also go to Theology Along the Way and find that from Jonathon. And I imagine this is something we'll, in different formats, kind of keep bringing back, because I think it's an important way to think through what we're doing and how it fits with the Center for Worldview too. So good stuff. Anything else that we want to, I know we'll get one more episode we'll try to do next week before break. And
no, next week, well, I think we said we'd do a kind of summary podcast,
recap
look at the
fall semester.
But
it's been
good to go.
Busy semester. We're still, was telling you this morning, up double our applications for next fall compared to were this time last year. So admissions team it's
great
in the weeds trying to work with all these students.
Yeah, I'm doing a little bit of it because we're trying to recruit this pickleball and esports teams, and so we're using. I was using Slate yesterday, sending messages, responding. I've had some phone calls, and it's been fun. But it's a lot.
Awesome. Bring you over to the admissions office.
There you go.
Well, thank you everybody for listening. Kind of jumbled those words together. We'll be back again, one more episode next week, and then we'll take a break for Christmas, and pray that you all are preparing for a blessed season. We're looking forward to it as well.
Man.